Alright guys, this is going to be a review for your quiz tomorrow that we have over inequalities. So far all we've done in this unit is talk about inequalities like I just said. This is unit 4. So these are the kinds of questions you're going to see on your quiz tomorrow that I expect you to know how to do. You're going to have these kinds of problems where they're going to give you a situation. You'll be able to write the inequality and graph it. I passed back a worksheet today that had those kinds of problems on it, so make sure you understand those. So I'm going to go ahead and work out both of these with you so you can see what I expect of you. Sarah wants to drive no more than 26 miles to work. So she wants to drive no more than 26. 26 is the most it can be. So that's my biggest my number is going to be. Sorry, I didn't plan this. Let me find my pen. So x is no more than 26. It's going to be the biggest she's going to want, that she wants it to be. So x has to be less than or equal to 26. 26 is the biggest, so x has to be smaller than or equal to 26. On my graph, I have 0. I'm going to go by 5s. Probably shouldn't have because now it's going off. But you get the idea. So if x is less than or equal to 26, she wants to drive no more than 26 miles. On my graph, since it has this equal sign right here, I'm going to have a closed circle on 26, and then it's going to go to the left. No more than 26. X is going to be less than 26. It can be equal to 26, but no more, so it's a closed circle. If this were just a regular less than symbol without the equal sign, it would be an open circle on your graph, so be aware of that difference. Okay? Be able to take one of these problems, an inequality problem, solve for x, and then graph that inequality. So you still need to remember how to distribute. That does not go away. So I have negative 4 multiplied by 5x. So that's going to be negative 20x. Remember, distributing is all multiplication. Now I need to distribute out to this other thing that's inside the parentheses. So negative 4 times negative 2 is plus 8. And I have greater than 48. Be very careful with your inequality sign. It's not equal anymore. We have an inequality symbol. But my process is still the same. I still need to get rid of my constant, so I have negative 20x is greater than 40. To get rid of that negative 20, I'm dividing by negative 20. Here's our friend flip. I am dividing by a negative number. So this inequality sign needs to be flipped. So x is now less than negative 2. Okay, so be very careful. Anytime you multiply or divide by a negative number and you have that inequality symbol, you're going to have to flip it. So that's why really a lot of people are struggling, because it's whenever you write this stuff down, guys, it needs to be nice and neat so you can see what you're doing and realize, okay, I'm dividing by a negative here. I can see that that's my step, and so I have to flip this inequality symbol. So my inequality here is x is less than negative 2. On my graph, I have negative 1. Here's an example of having an open circle. So if I have an open circle, it needs to be less than negative 2. Less than negative 2 is to the left on my graph, so be very careful as far as where your arrow goes. Okay? So another problems you're going to see on your quiz tomorrow, we have actual word problems. So we have an actual word problem. I have to take this problem and turn it into an inequality and then solve and graph it. So we did a whole worksheet over this, so hopefully we're pretty good. This is actually from that worksheet. Dave & Buster's charges $8 to enter, plus 75 cents for every game that you play. If you can spend at most $15, how many games can you play? So the most they can spend is $15. So everything right here has to be less than or equal. There's a one-time fee of $8 to get in, so that's my constant, plus I'm adding 75 cents per game you play. Be careful that 75 is not just 75, it's a decimal because it's 75 cents. Multiplied by x. X in this case is how many games I'm going to play. So here's my inequality statement. I actually have to solve for it to figure out how many games I can play, which again is representative of x. So I'm going to work backwards here, just like we've been doing. Be very careful with everything, using all the rules and flip just in case, and solve for x. So I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. I have 0.75x is less than or equal to 15 minus 8 is 7. Then divide by 0.75 on both sides. That's a positive number, so I don't have to flip. And how about I actually have a calculator out here so I could do it. 7 divided by 0.75 is 9.33. Okay, Here's where it can get tricky with inequalities, guys. Be very careful. The situation asks, how many games can you play? If I can play 9.33 games, you cannot play 0.33 of a game, only dealing with whole numbers here. So if the most I have is to play 9.33, that's the most amount, that's the biggest amount I can play. I can only play 9 games. So be very careful with how you're rounding, if it's rounding up or down. So it's asking how many games can I play? If I have 0, let's do by 2s. I can play 9 games. I can play 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or nothing. This is not continuous. I cannot play a half of a game. These are all points. Be very careful with how you graph your situations. Okay? So now on to graphing the problems that we've been doing the past 2 days, taking one of these with 2 variables. I'm going to have 2 of my variables in here and then graph it on here. So study that yellow page that we did in class yesterday. Our biggest problem is that we have to change this from standard, which is what it is now, into slope-intercept. So I need to move this 2x over to the other side by subtracting it. Now I have y is greater than negative 2x minus 2. Here is my slope-intercept form. Using this, I know my m is negative 2. Remember, my m is my slope. It's my coefficient. Negative 2 over 1. My b, which is my y-intercept, is 0, negative 2. All of that is stuff you have seen before. Let me zoom in real quick, guys. Sorry. All of this is stuff you have seen before. The only part that's kind of new, that has to do with the inequality, is how I'm shading it and the line that I'm drawing. Sorry, it's focusing. So the line, it's asking, is it going to be a solid line or a dashed line? That has to do with this inequality symbol. It's just like the open and closed circle. If I do not have that equal sign underneath, it is a dashed line. If it is a greater than symbol, I'm shading above. If it was a less than symbol, I'd be shading below. If I had that equal sign, it'd be a solid line. Now I have all the things that I need to actually graph this. My y-intercept is negative 2. My slope is down 2 to the right 1. So again, none of this is, very little of this is brand new information. The only thing that's new is the shading and the dashed line part. So make sure it's very obvious to me that you have a dashed line, and write it on this part that actually says it. That way I know what you're talking about and I can grade it correctly. And then I need to shade above. Okay, so I'm going to do one other real quick. 2 others, I lied. So again here, this is in standard form. I need to change it to slope-intercept. This says 2x minus 4y is greater than or equal to negative 8. Move that 2x over. So I have negative 4y greater than or equal to negative 2x minus 8. Here's what I wanted to show you. If I'm dividing by a negative 4, our friend flip is still involved. If I'm dividing by a negative number or multiplying by a negative number with an inequality, this has to flip. So now instead of greater than or equal to, it's less than or equal to 1/2 x plus 2. My slope is 1/2. My b is 0, 2. My line is solid. It's a normal line now because I have that equal sign, and I'm shading below. So the flip is going to come into play and is going to affect your answer when it comes to the shading, so be very careful. So y-intercept of 2. Here's my slope of 1 over 2. Solid line, and I'm shading below. Okay. One last one that's going to help you out are these weird funky ones. X is greater than negative 2. This is not even technically a function, but we can still graph it. If it has an x there, that means my slope is undefined. I don't have a slope. It's undefined. Remember our song. This is, we have 0, positive, undefined, negative. So this is going to be a vertical line. My b, this is my y-intercept. It's never going to cross the y-axis. I can't cross the y-axis on this because this has an undefined slope. So, as far as the line goes, it is dashed because it does not have that equal sign on there. My shading is going to be to the right in this case because the greater than is to the right.
You have to talk it out to
Stop! I am recording a video, Coach Sarles, and you totally just busted it up. That's okay. So, if this is a vertical line that crosses through negative 2, It's supposed to be dashed even though I just messed up because Coach Sarles just messed me up. And now I'm shading to the right. Awesome. Study your notes. You have a quiz tomorrow.